Did you? Shit. I missed this.
And we have this again once this week for more shenanigans and more weird shit. Thanks for already starting the recording.
I'm just gonna cut that in. I don't even care. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the anniversary episode of DoubleDM. It's been over a year now at this point that we've been on this podcast journey, at least publicly. It's been longer since we had the idea and we had a lot of things to do before we started, but this basically marks our 1 year of DoubleDM.
Yeah, it is a lot. Being able to do this or doing this for over a year now is still hard to grasp sometimes.
But do you know what's also hard to grasp? How easily it is for us to just switch on professional mode and start talking.
Yeah, but that's one thing that we've learned through the podcasting experience that we've built over the past year. That we have our pre-show shenanigans and then just click and we're sort of kind of professional now.
I mean, we're still talking about butts and okay.
Of course we do.
Okay. I don't even fucking know. How are you? How are you doing today, Nils?
I am good. Not particularly great, but good. Still or at least stressed out for the upcoming exams because university exams suck to prepare for, but the outcome will be worth it, I hope. Let's hope I pass the test.
I feel that. I have a presentation on Thursday this week and an exam on Friday this week and another exam in a few weeks and a few homeworks to put in. It is a lot.
My condolences. It feels like a lot.
I mean, it's fine, but I don't know. This sounds weird, but why is it like this that university and college is basically designed to only stress you for 5 weeks, a whole year, and all the other weeks it's just smooth sailing as long as you do work for it a bit.
As long as you do your mandatory homeworks every week and stuff, it just is pretty smooth and
but then exams come around and you
then
get
it's just mayhem. It's just utter mayhem in the exam weeks or the weeks before that.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It's weird. It's disgusting sometimes. Even, but yeah, let's hope for the best. But I mean, we are good and prepared, so we will have no troubles at all. Not even a little bit.
Are you sure?
No. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, so let's talk about the year we've had with DoubleDM.
We're DoubleDM. We do it. I don't know why I actually started that. But yeah, let's talk about this podcast. Before we get into some questions we have prepared, I just wanted to randomly ask you.
Oh boy.
So how does it feel to be a 1 year long podcaster now?
Personally, it feels really, really good. I kind of feel accomplished.
But professionally, it feels bad or what?
No. I can't really say much about the professional side because we are still building on that, or at least I am. I think you know what I mean? There's still room to grow. But personally, I already feel accomplished that this podcast has persisted over a year. And this just feels fucking great.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, working on the professional thing is, it never really stops, right? You exactly. Always improve. And I think that's basically also where the good podcasts divide from the bad, but also the great divide from the good. Those that always want to improve and those that also put the work into improving are the ones that persist. And without tooting my own horn for too much, we do put in the work. We do put in the effort. We want this to succeed. I mean, even if it's maybe not as much felt for this show, because this show is supposed to be a lot less edited or simply edited, so it feels natural, the discussion, right? Because in a discussion, you don't want to lose the detailed and nuance. But when you look at Titan's Call preparations, like we put in work, we put in hours just so this can be the best it can be from us. And I'm sure that shows after Titan's Call will be better just because we have learned from the past experiences. And from this year alone, only in podcasting terms, I've learned so much. If we have to go into more, I have learned so much in general about myself, about the world, about other people, about how to treat others. And generally, like there was a big thing in changing my world and the way I approach life. And yeah, this is all cause of this.
Yeah. So how was it like to start the idea of DoubleDM? How did it come to this, and what was it like? Tell me about it.
Okay. Yeah. The idea was sparked in late 2020. It was around, I think, 2 weeks before Christmas or something that I first had the idea of doing one, because I came to Twitter and followed a video game dev to his D&D podcast. And that's when I realized that there are like 100, 200, 300,000 podcasts out there and that everyone can do one. And that's still one of my core beliefs when it comes to podcasting. Yes, you can do your own podcast, just do your thing. There's a difference between everyone can do it professionally, which, for example, I'm not a professional because I don't make my money off of this, but everyone can do a podcast. And yeah, that's how the idea was sparked. And then one day, a week before Christmas, I get the message from my mother that she is positive for COVID and is coming home for quarantine purposes, and that I am not to leave the house anymore for 2 weeks, which meant over Christmas and New Year's Eve. And in that time, it didn't, right? It's when you're forced to be quarantined, which I abided by, obviously. I didn't go outside for 14 days at that time because I didn't want to. I didn't want to infect anyone because I, for serious, had COVID in that time. And, well, yeah, but still, it kind of was a little... I wasn't feeling the best being forced to stay inside, having other people do the shopping for us. We, for example, made cheeseburgers for Christmas. I know one of the best Christmas foods ever, cheeseburgers. But right, it works. Right. It was fun. And that then the idea more or less grew into something, okay, not just I want to do something, but I want to do a D&D podcast, a discussion podcast, not an actual play, though I had the idea for Titan's Call, not the general idea, but just the idea of, hey, I want to do an actual play as well. That came also from that period. And after quarantine was over for me, I let it sit for a few days and see if it subsides again. And not that it's just this weird quarantine addiction or quarantine obsession and I lose it too quickly. And after that, I realized that I still have the desire to do some more or less creative work for myself as a person that isn't the most creative person, or that isn't really a creative person. Having a project that more or less is a creative project, like this one, was something I wanted to do. And now we're here. I asked you agreed, and yeah. Yeah,
and I just got a quick intersection. Just don't say this is more or less creative work. This is creative work, period. Just so there's something we can discuss there, but I think what you are doing is definitely creative work. Even not in the podcasting sense, but making campaigns from scrap and stuff like this. This is all creative, just so you know. Yeah. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, right. DMs are creative people. I'm not saying I'm uncreative or not at all creative. I'm just like the person that it's just that, right? There are people that do music, that paint, that draw, that dance or whatever. I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of person that plays video games all day and programs tools and websites for a living, right? That's not creative. That's just logical math, more or less. Not creative, right? That's
it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, moving on. I have a question for you. I have 2 questions for you.
Oh God, the improv questions always hit me different.
I will ask them both at the same time, and you can choose to answer which first.
Okay.
First up, how was it like to hear about the idea, and what the fuck is that on your couch there?
Okay. What do you mean on the couch? There are several things. If you mean
the
this
orange
thing right
thing.
here, or
no, the one above. Yeah,
this?
that.
This is a pomegranate.
Why?
Because I ran to the kitchen before we started and wanted to make cut open a pomegranate to eat, but then I realized, oh shit, we wanted to meet to record, so I just put it on the couch.
Okay, so you thought about having something to eat, realized that we have a scheduled recording, and threw it on the couch, sat in front of the computer, and started recording, and
exactly.
And hoped I didn't realize.
I just don't give a shit if you'd realized or not.
Okay.
After this is over, I will eat this.
Okay.
Most proudly, I will eat this pomegranate.
Oh. Okay.
But to the topic question, it was actually not that weird to hear about it. I always thought about podcasts, and it would be cool if someone made a podcast, or I would be part of a podcast or something, but never really thought of it like doing myself physically or actually doing it. And when you came along with the idea, I thought, yeah, well, kind of makes sense. We always talk about that stuff anyways, and the thing was in my head at least a couple of times already, but I never acted on the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, yeah, sure, why not? It was just it just fit. It was just fitting in the headspace at these times, or in general. If we wouldn't be doing this for over a year now, and you would have asked me now, I still would say yes, because I like this. And I realize now, after over a year, that I like this, but I like to try new things. Mm-hmm. So the worst thing that could happen was nobody liked my voice on the podcast, so who cares?
I mean, the only person that doesn't like your voice on the podcast is yourself.
Yeah, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I can listen to my own voice now, as long as there are not too many people around. If I hear myself publicly, I will still sing into the ground. Because that's just the way it is. But yeah, it was just a nice idea. Mm-hmm. Then let me ask you one question.
Yeah.
What preparations did you do before we started?
So when I asked you, we decided on how do we even do this? Because we both were like, we had no fucking idea of how to do a podcast, right? The first thing we obviously knew was, okay, we need to record. Okay, but how? How do we record the podcast? And I think there was a significant amount of trying to figure out how we do recording, especially in a synchronized manner. Now we use Zencastr, which is one of the best podcasting programs you will find. It's amazing. Zencastr, please sponsor us. We're up for sponsoring. Cool. Yeah, but no, we took some time to figure out how to actually record, what episodes are supposed to look like, how to do editing. Or obviously, since you are able to draw and to make something look good, you drew a logo, a banner, or everything else we needed as visuals for the podcast.
Let's say at least now I am able to make things look good.
For Twitter and Instagram and all other social media for the feed, we needed to decide on a podcast host and how to distribute our podcast. Then we figured out equipment. Do we need new equipment? Yes, we did. In fact, at the first few episodes we recorded with very basic gear that didn't work at all, or at least didn't serve the podcasting purpose. And now we have these at least somewhat functional mics.
Yeah, I would say functional mics. They're not music studio grade microphones, but those cost a fortune, and we don't have a fortune. At least I do not.
Yeah, not now at least. Yeah, and that's kind of where it was. We didn't do much preparation, right? We just went for it and did the thing, which is reflected in the quality of our first few episodes, which is just phenomenally garbage.
Yeah, but I mean, we didn't know what the fuck we were doing.
No.
And I think regarding that, they turned out okay.
They turned out okay when you look at the context, but if you look at now in comparison to them, they are fucking garbage.
Exactly. It's all a matter of perspective.
It's a lot of things that you just don't learn without doing podcasting or without doing, let's call it podcast training, because for Titans Call, right, we did some sessions that will never see the light of day, for especially the two players that haven't done podcasting before. It's the simple things that you try to move your head and mic, and especially the relation between the two, in no way, basically. That you try to give yourself the best studio conditions you can, that you suddenly realize how the flow of talking works, and where you can edit something, because episode 1 to whatever weren't edited at all. That was just the raw audio file uploaded and boom, out there. Nowadays, we cut around 10 minutes of every discussion, which is repetitions, stutters, and ahs, silence, all of that stuff that you don't need to get the flow of the discussion. but generally our discussions are way smoother. And we also experimented at the beginning. We didn't at all because we didn't think that it was needed. But one thing I can say for if you start a new discussion podcast is you need to play a lot around with a script. And with a script, I don't mean script your answers, but script the questions you will ask each other. Exactly. You need to have enough talking points to fill the episode. And I can say, if you have even just 3 points written down, that's already enough. Just realize how long you want your episode to be, how much content you need to fill, and then just talk. You can do it. Yeah. But you need to think about what to put in the episode to make it feel at least somewhat coherent. At least if you're doing it like us, where we have one topic per week and want to talk about that personal topic.
Yeah, and if you have points that you can grasp while you're still talking about a different point, it helps with the whole discussion being in a flow and getting from one point to another and not having too much of a downtime of talking or a completely off-topic thing. It might happen because one question can spark other questions, but you can have, or at least you have the basic structure to what you want to say. And you can kind of walk on that or around that line.
Yeah. So now we talked about the preparations and the thoughts we did for the first episode or before we got the podcast. So Nils, how did it feel to release episode 1 and also 2 because we released them at the same time? Especially also, how was the first few weeks of podcasting for you? What were your feelings like? What can you say to people?
I felt anxious and nervous at first because now my voice is out there for everyone to hear. And suddenly we got listens, which weren't from our friends or us. And this felt weird at first because I never thought how quickly people we don't know personally would listen to this. Or at least I didn't know how fast this can be. It was terrifying even, but it got better. But clicking the submit or publish button on the first night was it was a different kind of thing. It's hard to explain. But when you publish something for the first time to the world, basically, it feels strange at first.
I mean, especially pressing the button of release first episode was a momentous moment, more or less. It was, okay, now it's done.
Yeah, we are doing this. It is done.
And from that point, it never stopped, right? We got episode 3, which was still terrible. Episode 4, still terrible. Everything at the beginning was terrible. From this point of view, at least now.
Yeah.
Without actually, one thing, I'm not insulting other podcasters with this, but a lot of people have shit first episodes. And that's okay.
It's just the way it is. It's
the learning experience. If you're like us, you started on a whim, more or less. And now this project has grown into something more. And there are a few people that put that effort of learning that stuff. We all learned over our first year or half first year in public before. And yes, their quality and way of things reflect that. But just because you find your first episode worse than someone else's, it doesn't mean that your episode is bad. I'm still grateful for the first episode we did because we needed to start somewhere.
Definitely. And I mean, we did start somewhere. And look at where we are now. It was worth all the anxiousness, nervousness, terrifying experiences, the firsts, basically, of the podcast, publishing for the first time, recording for the first time, and all this kind of things. They were worth all the emotions and turned into good emotions from the perspective I am looking at it now.
Yeah.
Because it made us improve, or it made us to want to improve. Let's say it like that. But you wanted to say something as well, sorry.
Well, one of the things easily, I wouldn't have been on this project if we had 6 months of preparation time before we released our first episode. Then I would have probably dipped from this with you and you probably as well. That would have been too long. Not to say that people that do it wrong or something, but really everyone starts differently. And the only thing you can do is look forward and learn from the past mistakes of podcasting and improve. Those that do are the ones that stick around, are the ones that get recognized. So yeah.
Then let's talk a bit about guests, because we talked about guests privately a lot and how it felt recording with them. How did you score our first guest?
How did I score our first guest? Well, our first guest is Eli from Mayday Roleplay, who's a lovely human being, and I appreciate her a whole lot. No, but how did we score Eli? Well, it was easy. I made a post on Twitter, like the pretentious person that I am, thinking that we have an audience on Twitter that I can ask what we should do next for an episode. And we were like, okay, do we do battle maps, overworld maps, or music at the table and something. And Eli basically barged down my door and went, "Hey, I'm a professional sound engineer and I think I have a lot of knowledge you guys want on your podcast." And I was like, "Well, okay then." Yeah, Eli really just messaged or put a message under the podcast. Boom, I'm a professional sound engineer. You want me on your podcast? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. How do we even do this?
Yeah. The first few weeks of logistics to get to a common ground when we can record, and the first few times with guests, how we can record was just a nightmare.
Well, yeah. And then that sparked a very, very dear and great friendship with Eli. So I'm very grateful for that, because that was terrifying, but also something that I think this podcast and I as a person needed, that Eli just said, fuck it, I'm here now.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
It was an awesome but gruesome experience at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to describe. Everyone who gets their first guest who isn't one of their friend group knows what we are talking about, I think. It's weird. It's awesome, cool, and all this, but also terrifying. I was shaking the whole damn episode, and I think 2 hours after that.
It was a lot, to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on from that. Nils, what has been your favorite episode of the 1 year of DoubleDM so far?
From a perspective of learning the most, it was episode 9 with Eli, because I learned a lot about how we have to communicate on the podcast, on record, with guests and stuff, and in general how podcasting works. It was an awesome episode. But the episode that I liked the most from a topic perspective probably would be failing and character creation. Because failing was always a point that I was afraid of when my group failed. I often didn't know how I could move on from that and stuff like that. But the failing episode really helped me in the way that I needed to at that time. Failing forward as just a simple phrase to put it out there. It's a huge thing, but it needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And the character creation episode I really liked, because it put a different spin on the way I did character creation before that, or I still do sometimes.
Yeah.
And getting these hot takes and talking about them is just a very interesting and fun thing to do, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I agree so much, right? The character episode was one of the best we had, 100% with CC, because he just had so much things that opened my eyes. But I have to say, when I think about my 2 favorite episodes, it's probably the pitching episode with Nathan and creating a show episode. Maybe because I'm really taking the lessons I learned in those to heart from Russell and Nathan right now, especially for creating Titan's Call and how to approach this behemoth of making an actual play that actually is not just let's start out as a group of friends, but really has a production, editing, an actual well put together intriguing story and world you can use. And right, I'm putting in a lot of extra effort that you don't need for an actual play, but I want to put that in. And that's why these 2 episodes come in handy the most for me right now, because they're the most information, they have the most information on how to make a great product, how to make your product, which is how to make your show a great product, basically, when you combine those 2 episodes.
Yeah, but focusing on just one favorite episode, at least for me, is not possible, because we talked about so much great stuff.
But hey, at least no one of us said Session 0 episode, because everyone forgot that one.
We don't talk about that one. I
mean, the talks we had about it was fine, but no one listened to it. Like, it has such a bad statistic.
Yeah, but story arcs is even worse. But I still like the episodes. It was still fun talking about it.
Yeah.
But those were still in our early stages.
Yeah.
So there is things to improve on those.
Yeah. Right. In a year, we will look back at this episode and think, "Boy, what the fuck did we do there? Why?"
Oh yeah. But this will be every time we do these sort of yearly recaps of how the year was, it's always going to be better the year after that. Because we are still learning, always learning new things, still improving, and all of those things. It's like everyone says, you never stop to learn. There's always things that you can learn every fucking day. And it's the same with this project.
And your pomegranate is our mascot now.
Yeah, okay.
For these anniversary episodes.
Yeah. Okay.
Every anniversary episode will have a pomegranate in it.
Yeah. And next year, there will be 2.
It will be the same, though.
It will be the same pomegranate. Yeah, please not. No. I think if we wait a year for this pomegranate, the pomegranate walks out itself. It just leaves. On its own 2 legs, so yeah, let's not do that.
Become triple DM. It's now an Emil and the pomegranate.
Yeah, maybe let's not get to that point where the pomegranate becomes an own person, please. I don't want to give up my flat to the pomegranate because I feel like it would throw me out.
It will become your friendly roommate. It will also pay rent.
Oh, no, I can take that. I would love that. But
do you hear that, pomegranate?
Get that, yeah. But coming back to episodes and stuff, we had a lot of episodes with guests, and those guests were basically all from the community. How was it interacting with the community and in general connecting with the community?
I have to say that interacting with especially the TTRPG community on Twitter was one of the best experiences I've ever had. So many friendly people, so many nice people, good acts. Yeah. No, generally you find so much creativity, so much respect and inclusivity in that space, and they took us in as a new person in that community, as a new group in that community. And yeah, now we're here, and it's not in small amounts thanks to the community that we kept going, because this community actually supports one another. I listen to a lot of podcasts from other people in the community and see their videos, their streams, buy their maps and items and what all, because not only do they do the same for me, but I also want to support them, and the same they do in kind for me. The people want to support others. That's something you don't necessarily take for granted everywhere. And I mean, I can go on and on about the people that I've met that I need to thank, but obviously Hope for TTRPGs, Maps and Quests, Abyssal Brews, Dice Drop, especially the Game Goddess Alley, Lex from Titanomachy RPG, Nathan from Reckless Attack already named, Eli from Mayday Roleplay already named, Amber from the Space Jamber, Souls from Souls Rolls. Yeah, going on, I can say people like Evie from D&D Disaster Story, Cassie Mothwin, who made What Crooked Roots, one of the best D&D supplements I've ever seen. Yeah, Matt and Fernando from Abyssal Blues, I already think I told about them, but we talk about them a lot anyway. So yeah, Matt, you get mentioned too often here.
There's no such thing as too often for awesome content creators.
Yeah, that's
because
that's true.
Everyone we talk about deserves all the love that we send towards them.
Obviously the people that Jason Zollinger or Chill Touch RPG right now, Steam Sage, Ewan from X from Lost in Transmute, just as Draken, who has an awesome shield supplement coming up. Never Not DM Ben. Yeah, and so many others basically. I can go on and on all day naming these people for their awesome work, for their awesome support, for just being good people that I enjoy the company of. Danny Hurd. I can't sing Bogus Cheesecake. I can name names all day, so you need to stop me now.
Yeah. I was going to, because if we start listing all the people we are thankful for, we would be here, I think, 2 or 3 days straight.
Yeah.
And I think neither you nor me has time for that.
Yeah.
So everyone we didn't include, thank you for being there.
I just forgot you because I am in stress right now.
Because I needed to stop you because we can't talk about everyone, sadly.
Carney Sideshow Sylvie. Okay, it's now.
Okay. then what other things on the show do you want to highlight?
Especially things that have nothing to do with this show. Why Your World Matters, the actual play and learn we did with Klaus, the interviews we did with Roleplay Chat, Thinking Critically, and Homie and the Dude. Those all 5 have been experiences that have nothing to do with this actual podcast, but still have connected us with good people. Klaus is also another person that I want to shout out. Okay, Matt from Roleplay Chat as well. Danny from Thinking Critically, and Tom and Bodhi from Homie and the Dude, obviously. Tyler from Magic Whistle. Okay, now I'm done. Okay, no, but we've done a lot in this year that has actually nothing to do with our show, or isn't exactly our show. And I think people, if you want to enter the TTRPG space, you need to do that. You need to work with people. You need to connect. You need to network with people. You need to approach people about doing interviews together, collaborations, and everything. And one of the things that I'm just gonna come out and say, don't try to shoot for stars. That might sound weird, but you need to realize that a lot of the creators that you see are very busy.
Yeah.
And if someone, and I'm not saying this because we are too big to talk to small people. I enjoy talking to no matter your reach, and I just want to know about your opinions and your expertise or whatever, and that is all I need to know to talk to you. But a lot of creators are very busy with their own projects, and especially with the collaborations they already have going on. So find the people that you actually want to collaborate with, people that you are close to, make friends and collaborate with them, grow together, support each other. You don't have to go for the biggest creator you can find and hope they say yes. Go about it organically. Find someone you enjoy and they enjoy your presence, and then say, hey, why don't we collaborate on something? How about this? And since you're friends, you will support each other in that. If they can and want to be on your part of their project, they will. And then that works out, right? Eli came onto our show because Eli wanted to be on the show, and we didn't know Eli very well, but we made sure that we know Eli before we let Eli on the show. But after that, I still connected with Eli. Eli stayed friends with the show, with me and with you, because that's how you grow in this space. You don't grow alone. You grow with people. Doing work with other creators, right? Why Your World Matters is a big panel every quarter year. The actual play with Klaus was amazing.
Yeah.
The interviews, perfect. Other shows where we can talk to people, where we can have insight and learn from each other. Great.
Yeah, don't think of other people that you can interact with as competition.
Mm-hmm.
Think of them as support for you and you as support for them. So you can build higher together and not I build my own thing trying to overshadow you. That is not going to work.
Yeah.
Support each other and everything will be all right.
Nils, this is the big question.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
What has this show done for us?
Okay, that is a loaded fucking question. That's huge.
It's not loaded. It's just a huge question.
Yeah, it has done so much. It helped me build confidence for myself, not just on the internet or in this podcast, but in general. It just made me more confident in my personal life as well. I don't really know why, but it did, because I accomplished something, I think. And this just made me more confident in general. It made me a better DM. I don't want to play in a game from over a year ago, but now, hell yeah, with the knowledge I have now. Back then, different. Again, point of perspective.
Yeah.
But with the things I learned through all this creative dialogue that we did with ourselves or other guests, I just learned so much on how to DM, how to interact with people, how to deal with certain things, how to be more confident in myself, in this podcast, and in my friends. And yeah, it just did so much stuff that is not easily explainable without talking 2 days. I mean, I can echo, just deeply connected and woven into everything I do now, kind of.
I can echo that wholeheartedly, right? I improved so much as a DM through talking to you, talking to other people, learning from others. That is the way to grow as a DM, because no book and no YouTube video, no person can tell you how to get better. Only you can. But you can still talk to other people that can say, well, I do this. this might work for you, or why not try this, or this is how I approach it. And that gives you perspective you didn't have before. It improved my English as a language a whole lot again. And that is a valuable skill even for daily life. It made me, I already said that this year in podcasting, and the podcast is the reason I've met a lot of people on Twitter, right? It opened a lot of doors to amazing people for me. I've been connecting with so many amazing people that I now call some of my best friends ever. And all of them are phenomenal. And also what they did as an effect then is change me as a person, and I will forever be grateful for that. It's hard to describe more than it is, but yeah, I've met a lot of amazing people, and I'm thankful for that, and this is basically the biggest influence this show had on me.
Oh yeah, it is just it's hard to pinpoint what specific impacts this show had on me, or I think it happens
so gradually over time, right?
Exactly. I don't want to speak for you, but I think you are the same in this regard. We both can't pinpoint a specific thing that impacted the show the most, or the show impacted this the most. But everything in our lives basically was impacted by the way this show develops and still will develop. Because it's just a huge part of my mind space.
Yeah.
Because I completely identify with, I am part of DoubleDM, period. It is just who I am now, part of DoubleDM, and I love it. I am proud to be part of DoubleDM. I will say that, and I don't think I will ever change that point of view.
I'm also very proud of what we've accomplished so far, and I can't wait for what's to come.
Speaking of what's to come, what do you expect for the next year?
A lot. I look most forward to Titan's Call and recording, editing, and releasing that, which we don't have an exact date yet, but recording starts in March, and then it's rather quickly till the pipeline pushes us out the other end for podcasting. So end of April, May, maybe June, something along those lines, but also shows after that, right? I do intend to have actual plays nearly all the time on this feed next to this discussion show. Look forward to another 52 episodes of this discussion, creative talking, to amazing guests we can have, and to whatever else we discover. We don't know. Maybe in 6 months we will start streaming. Maybe we will release a supplement, whatever, right? I mean, why not?
Yeah, the world is our oyster. But I don't know.
The saying "the world is our oyster" kind of always feels too sexual for me.
Okay, you made it weird now. This one's on you. I mean, I would classify me as a weird one, but this one is on you, my friend. God.
But yeah, sorry, but I just need to say, it's discussion podcast. I should speak my mind.
Yeah, definitely. And this is one thing I am looking forward to as well in the next year. All of these weird shenanigans that are happening around and in the discussions. You should hear the pre-talks of these things. They are just...
I mean, calling them talks is a little bit of an overstatement.
It's just a thing, I guess, but it hypes me up mentally for all of this. And I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, the actual play as well. I'm also planning something along an actual play kind of thing, but I don't know when, where, what, or what it is about, but I'm excited to plan that. That's what I'm looking forward to finish up the rough planning of what I wanted to be. So yeah, a lot of new projects, at least in our head. And so they will be on the internet. So
yeah, and even more that are not even yet in our heads, but just in our subconscious. So I think we're done for this anniversary episode. It's been an amazing year with you, Nils. Thank you for doing this with me. I don't think I could have found a better person for this.
That means a lot.
And thank you to the people that have listened for whatever length they've listened to this podcast. Thank you for being part of the journey. Thank you for listening. And we will hear you all on the next one. No, I'm not going to do shoutouts for social media. I want this to be a sentimental moment, which I just ruined. I know. Thank you for listening. Hear you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.